welcome back to Reloading Journey. A little different episode here today. I'm here with Will Arnie from FW Arms.
How's it going?
He came by. He's going to show us some of the products they have, key ways of setting them up on the X10, and then, like I said, just go over some of their products and go from there.
Sounds good.
So first, why FW Arms? Why did you get started? How did you get started?
Okay, so in about 2016 or 17, I was able to pick up a Dillon Super 1050. And I was cranking along with that, and I noticed that if I went too fast, pin here with the wobble would end up on the outside of the case. And I kept breaking pins, ruining brass. Granted, it wasn't great brass at the time, it was just range pickup, but still, I didn't have a lot. I wanted to save as much, and buying a pin for a dumb reason like that, didn't want to do that. So I picked up an auto drive. At the time, could run 2,400 cases an hour. That's how old this particular drive was. They run about 35 now.
Jeez.
Just couldn't get this drive to do 223 brass at anything over like 1,600 cases per hour.
Still a lot, but
Still a lot.
not
But
what you want.
when I see it and I can go faster, I'm irritated. Why can't I go faster? So I'm like, you know what this needs? I just got to find a decapper that has a little shuttle on the end. It just needs to grab the neck and pull it back to center. So I look online. I can't find anything. I see decappers. And this is in the 2017 range. If I can see decappers, they're like 70, 75 bucks. And I'm thinking, this isn't going to solve what I need to do. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to spend that kind of money. So one morning, I was like, all right, I'll just do this myself. So I took a piece of threaded rod and drilled it out here.
Oh, geez.
Yep. And didn't drill through all the way. Put a little bore in there and made this little shuttle here. And it's got a little conical section here. And I dropped it down in there. And I didn't particularly have a spring long enough exactly. And I wanted to get this thing working, so I made a little spacer. So we don't need the spacer. Then I made...
That's another piece of all thread?
Oh yeah, this is just another piece of 1/4-20 threaded rod that I had. And I just put a little pin profile on there because the Lee pins, they're soft steel. And then I made a spring retainer and a little cap. And I was like, all right, let's see what happens here. So I put it all together here, screwed it on down, and I'll be damned, I got this thing running, and for the next, I don't know, I think I had about 5,000 pieces of brass. It just went.
Just worked.
Just worked. It just 2,400.
Seems like a
pieces
simple
per hour.
little,
And I was like, So I was like, okay. So, all right, so we get patent pending on the unit. So I start sending samples out to brass processors. So high volume commercial brass processors. And all of a sudden, we get a lot of feedback back like, we really like this idea. Can we change these things? So we changed some of the pin profiles. They wanted changeable tips to keep the cost down. Totally, I get it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Started making changeable tips and just guide rods that they can put in. It was amazing to see the feedback on these things, like the amount of time that we saved these processors and money, because they were running faster, they were breaking less pins, which means they had less downtime.
Yeah, and messing up less brass.
And messing up less brass. So we had guys that are like, yeah, we expect about 10%, 8 to 10% scrap just from knickknacks and quality control.
And if you can drop that 3%,
yeah,
4%,
and it went down,
huge.
it just bottomed out.
Wow.
And so it was just great. So we went through a couple different versions. We listened to a lot of feedback from our customers, and we turned it into what we have inside these boxes now.
So this started it all.
That
This
started it all. Yep.
Piece of all thread with all thread and a little cone.
Yep.
That's where you started.
That's where we started.
Now let's see where you're
This is
at.
where we're at. So I always like opening these particular boxes up with a knife because it just keeps the box in a different shape, better shape. We're moving back to a plastic box, like a telescoping plastic. We use those in
Where
the
you
first.
can keep them.
And it's just, I think, a nicer presentation. So pop this sucker open here, and then we have, that's a dynamic hold down. We can talk about that. Probably should have looked at the end of what these are. We're going to actually set your press up with 2 of these dynamic hold downs. One for swage and one for priming.
Now, from what I've seen, do you have the tallest? Are there ones out there that are taller? I've never seen any. It seem like you have the biggest.
So there's this obsession with having a short die in your decapping station. I don't get that.
Yeah, what's the size matter?
We're not flying
If your
planes over
machine
this
can- yeah.
thing. What makes our unit work so much better is our spring that's inside. The spring drives the shuttle. So you're not having the weight of the shuttle, or you're not having the weight of the shuttle drive it down. You can get a little, you're decapping dirty brass. There's crap in there.
Yeah.
That can get hung up. The shuttle is driven by the spring. So we needed the length in here so the spring can have the proper compression so you don't blow your spring out after every 5,000 rounds.
Good.
So we have guys going hundreds of thousands of rounds on one spring. I can count on one hand how many of these internal springs I've needed to replace. I can count on like 2 fingers how many of the internal springs for the popper I've needed to replace.
Wow.
So that's how robust they are. The hold downs here, they got longer because we added the dynamic portion on there. Now the dynamic portion here, all this started out as Berdan Sentry for this. So that's actually coming out here in a couple months. We're gonna be able to take this housing here, and it's gonna have a sensor on it that when you hit a Berdan, if you have an automated machine, it can turn it off. We're gonna try to set it up with a beeper also. So if you're coming along with on a Frankfurt Arsenal, beep, when you come along with a Berdan. So it's a real easy, you just unscrew it. We have a static version of this, put the cap on, and then we're gonna look into actually shrinking this up so we can use these housings for Berdan Sentry. We might be able to do a shorter version of the dynamic hold. We actually have a kind of a newer product here that is the intro decapper, because we know that if you're just getting started in reloading, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And who wants to throw down, these are $70.
Yeah.
$70, that it solves a problem though. It's not just something that's beefier. These are $35 shipped, and you get 4 pin tips total. So you get 1 pin tip, 1 shaft with standard 80,000 flash holes, and you get 1 for like Lapua brass. And it's nice on this guy because it has like the Lee Universal, it has a collet system, and we can just drop our pin in here, and we've laser engraved some lines on here so you can always get the same torque. So you don't have to have a torque wrench. And the nice thing about this is we've matched the taper on the inside of the die here to the taper of the ER16 collet. So when you screw your die down, you screw, a Lee Universal down, you're gonna see that pin tip do this. You screw this down, just straight down.
It's just sweet.
So another improvement that we made from the original version and throughout the different upgrades that we've made is we put a tool steel nose on our decapper. What happened is you have a case jump shell plate. It ends up sideways, and then your decapper comes and hits it, and it's just going to start bashing the crap out of the nose
Messing up your die.
of your die. It looks crappy. We found that the shuttle was getting interfered because you get a ding in it, and the shuttle couldn't move properly. So people would have to kind of file or grind that out. We decided to put a tool steel nose on there, and it solved that problem right away.
Right on.
So you get all that in this guy for just right under $70, and then we also included the adjustable popper, so you can have an aggressive pop or you can have a not aggressive pop. But yeah, all this is available on the website right now, fwarms.com. And yeah, so
Check it out.
Yeah, we should probably get started setting your machine up then. We'll go over to your press here, and I'm going to take a piece of non-decapped. We can put it in the machine, and what we're going to do is for the press, we're going to bring it all the way down. And then we're going to take the die here, and we're just going to start screwing it in there. Now, there are classes of threads on all these machines here. Frankfurt Arsenal actually used a really nice tight thread class, and we had our class thread that we use is the next step looser. So we actually had some issues with our nose pieces were about 1/1000 too big, and they wouldn't go into the tool head. If you're one of those customers, just contact me. We've just been swapping them out. We don't really hassle you. So we're going to screw this guy down here, and the point is, it's not a Frankfurt Arsenal issue. It was just an issue with some of our nose pieces. That's been alleviated. So there may be some floating around out there. We haven't sold that particular die here for probably 6 months. So we're going to screw this die down until it starts to decap. We're just going to keep screwing it down. You're going to hear it pop. One of these days. There you go.
There it goes.
All right, your primer come out. All right, we're going to screw it all the way down till it bottoms out, and then we're going to bring it back up 2 turns. So you can just take something like, look at one of the letters that's laser engraved on here. All right, 1, 2, bring it back down. And we're going to tighten it up there. And if you got a 1-inch wrench around here, so
I don't. That's something I got.
should have brought a wrench for you.
I've got channel locks. I've got.
We'll just tighten that down. That's fine. All right, so you got your case in there. So we're going to come back to the next station here. All right, so I am actually unfamiliar with this press. I do not have one in my own facility. So next station, I believe, is a secondary decap station.
Decap and sizing.
And you could do a sizing there.
Sizing.
All right, good. So I believe the next station is swage.
Yes.
After that. All right, so let's get the case in the swage position. With the dynamic hold down, the guide rod can move, and it's under spring pressure here. So you're always going to have the case held down in an absolute position. So same thing, we're going to bring the tool head all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to screw the nut up so we can actually get it in there. I'm going to put the die in there, and if I can, there. Oh, there is is that a ding? There we go. All right, so we're going to screw this down until it stops. You're not going to be able to hand crank through this spring. It ain't going to happen. So we're going to screw that down.
So you get a good forearm workout.
Oh yeah.
While you're going.
Oh yeah.
Also.
So we're at the bottom there. We're going to lift this up like so, and we are going to go down again. Take a measurement of kind of take note of where a character is. We're going to go down about half a turn, and we'll lock it in place there. I think this is all the way down. There we go. Yeah, so now go ahead and give that handle, just bring it up just so it relaxes. There you go. Now, if you bring it back down, that last little oomph, that's the spring in here compressing.
Yeah, you can feel it because it's not the machine locking, because you can still see the head go up and down.
Right.
But
so
it feels like cam over, but it's not cam
actually
over on the machine.
Right. It's actually the dynamic hold. There.
Wow. Yeah. Because normally you don't want this, because that means your head's stopping and you're forcing it past. But yeah,
right. So you're going to go down to your normal machine, the bottom stroke. So now that case is held in there, and each case after that's going to be held in there at the same exact position. So when you go to prime, it's going to be the same setup.
swage.
Yeah. So your swage is going to be good if you need to swage, and I assume your swage bar is already set up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what we can do now for priming is we'll bring that case in to place here, and we're going to bring this in. There we go. We're starting to prime. That didn't feel like a prime.
Yeah, and I noticed there no.
Yeah, because there was no case in there.
Well, I mean no. Yeah, no cam over.
Yeah. So
So you can tell it was absolutely just the.
So it's the same setup here for the priming. So you put a case in there, and it doesn't matter which case you start on because they're all going to be held down no matter what their internal dimensions are. And that's what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to accommodate each of the various internal geometry dimensions of each case, which can vary from the case head, where the primer starts to go in, to the point where the powder sits. That can vary, I think on Sammy, some cases it can vary up to 20 thousandths. Most manufacturers try to keep it with, well within some range, but...
So now you're talking, if it's 20 thousandths lower, that means your primer is not going to, the case is going to ride up. And
Right.
Your primer's
So
gonna be,
your primer seating depth, it's
be
reliant on how much flex is in your shell plate.
yeah.
So once your shell plate stops flexing, then the primer goes in the rest of the way. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll screw it down another half turn, and lock it up there, and you're golden. All right, let's go ahead and get this guy out and see what's going on here. Oh, there you go. It's a really nice, it primed
Yeah.
very nicely. Now, you should be able to get your primer consistency, your depth of primer, really nice. We're running at about 3 thousandths in our place. So
3 thousandths.
3 thousandths consistency from one to the next. So
I gotcha.
I'll set this. Some guys like to get the primers in there as deep as they can, which is cool. Totally go for it. I go about 7 thousandths below flush.
And that's what I was working towards with 9mm. I haven't started. I want to start doing 223,
Yeah.
so this is perfect. We're setting this up, but that's what I shoot for is 7 thousandths.
Yeah.
That's what I was on the 9mm.
So, and that's actually really important for if you do like bench rest rifle, because you want to take out every single variation that you can control. You can't control weather. You can't control, so for some extent you can control your trigger pull. Everything that comes to the brass and what we can do to make everything consistent, that's what we're about. And we want to make sure that you can do that in an automated or on a progressive press. So high precision shooting should not be a single stage or turret stage shooter's game. It can be a progressive shooter's game also.
Now, what are the numbers on here?
So that's our motto. Process, load, shoot,
Okay.
repeat.
All right. I thought it was settings on the head, but okay.
Nope, that's our motto. That's the only way that you can get good. Just repetition. Process, load, shoot, repeat. Process, load, shoot, repeat. That's the FW Arms way.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and
Yeah, drop some cases in there, let you run it. And
here's somewhere.
we were actually looking, looks like our primers are good here. On some of the other presses that have a little, a slightly different primer feed system, we were noticing that the pop in our decapper was so aggressive that it was actually flipping the new primers upside down for people that wanted to do the one-pass loading, which we took that seriously. So we put an adjustable popper adjustment in there. You take a 3/32 hex key and loosen this little set screw here, and then you can take a 5/32 hex key, and you can screw this up or down. I believe we always set them at max pop when we're assembling them, and then just tighten this guy up when you get the desired level of pop, and you're good to go. So let's just
We'll keep an eye on that. Let's see if it.
But we should be pretty good.
Love that sound.
That's when you hear that sound, you know your money. Now, depending on how the primer is in there, believe it or not, sometimes you actually don't get a pop. You'll get a pop when it's crimped. But if they're just put in there and no crimp, sometimes you don't get. Yeah, make sure he came out. So if this happens, so this is a guy, he was pretty heavy in there. This is not a problem. You can see it domed first.
Yeah.
So all we'll do, oh, he's coming loose a little bit too. We really need a wrench here.
Yeah.
Just drop him down, another half turn.
So that may have been.
But yeah, that's, if you know it's clicking, you know you're cooking. All right, we got to hang up here. Oh, you're not in Nick's all the way. There you go.
So that's. I don't know what. So that was on the machine.
Yeah, but it's not prime.
Well, that one's primed.
Yeah, it wasn't the primer.
No. So let's see.
I'll get this guy out.
That one's
So this one's
primer.
All right, so it looks like his crimp was not out all the way. So
So that the swage may not be.
the swage may not be deep enough. This is,
All right, now we got the swaging should be set correct.
we'll hear our pop.
Here comes the swage. Yeah, that looks a lot smoother. Now let's see how.
Oh yeah, that's mine. The thing is, when you switch from caliber to caliber, reset all these dials because you know the dimensions are different.
Well, that's why I've got a 9mm
Yep.
head there. This will be a 223 head.
Now I saw you doing. I see your sizing die down there. I saw you doing. So we're actually going to be coming out with a sizing die. I'm getting some test pieces of carbide. It's going to be a full length 9mm sizing die, and if we have the same success with it that we had with our ID mandrels, it should be a huge hit.
So that's, you've got that coming out. What else do you have coming out in the future? What are your plans?
We're going to add a couple more. So since I have a Dillon machine, we've been focusing a lot on the Dillon presses. We might add some shell plate numbers. We do 1s, 3s, and 5s right now. So you got like your 308, 45 ACPs. We have plate for 9mm, 223. You know, those really high volume calibers. We have plates for those. We might be adding in a 40 Smith & Wesson plate. People have been asking us about that. We have our prime time unit that helps with the priming on the Dillon 1050s. It's a completely new priming arm.
I saw that arm.
And it allows you to use our dynamic hold down. So, you know, we'll prime at 2,800 cases per hour.
Jeez.
And, you know, it's consistent.
I don't know if my arm will go that
Your
fast.
shoulder will hate you. Yeah. Shoulder and elbow will hate you. But your biceps are going to be like, yeah, buddy.
Lifetime pump.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, that's kind of what we're focusing on right now. The sizing die for 9mm is going to be the next big one. You know, we're going to get that out to some high volume processors and see how that works out. But again, we're going to shoot for having a tool steel nose, and it's going to be a carbide, a piece of carbide, ground carbide in there. So it's not powdered metal.
Right on. Well, I think you got some good products here.
Well, I appreciate that.
Can't wait to set them up. And like I said, your prices. You know, you see some other stuff, and it's.
One thing that a lot of people have said is, if I knew what it did before I bought it, I'd happily pay double.
Yeah.
So we are still relatively unknown in the world. Like, we have our people that have been with us, and we really appreciate you guys out there. But we're still, in terms of, like, I was just at Multi-Gun Nationals about a month ago in Minnesota, in Lake Forest there.
Yeah, I think I
Forest
saw that
Lake.
interview.
Yeah, and you know, we get people coming up there. Never heard of you guys. Never heard of you guys. I know. I'm not. I get it. We're still. Our marketing is not our strong point. Manufacturing, you know, high quality U.S. product is where we really excel.
Right on. Well,
So
you
we actually
seem to be
added,
doing good there.
yeah, we added on a machine. So we manufacture virtually 99% of this in Nevada here in Las Vegas. So it's a very high quality U.S. made product. We don't make the set screw.
Oh man,
But
that's
we
all
make,
right.
yeah, I know, it's I'm done now, but we do make the adjustable popper portion. So
Well, work on getting that.
I know,
So it's
I
100%.
gotta, it's rough, man. But yeah, that's how we roll.
Well, thank you for
Absolutely,
stopping
thanks for
by
having
and
me
doing this.
Having me out here, Jim.
I can't wait to get these running full speed.
Yeah.
You know, probably 100 an hour or something.
Listen, when you're first starting out,
Yeah.
slow is the game, and
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No, I've been really happy with the machine. Now I can't wait to get these dies going.
Oh yeah.
And go from there.
Yeah.
Well,
Very
again,
cool.
thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely, thanks for
Can't wait
having
to
me.
try the coffee.
It's good stuff.
And thanks for watching another one.
Remember,
So,
process, load, shoot, repeat. That's the way it gets done.
all right.
Very cool.
Have a good day.
See you later, guys.